Let's get a phone call or two in here quickly. We go to Texas. Johnny in Texas. Good to have you, Johnny. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. Appreciate the Vine. Thanks for that interview. It's good to be back in the jungle. I am just absolutely blown away. You know, since '06, I've been following you, and I have to say I've never caught that guy before, but amazing. And so thank you for that story because, you know, forgiveness is one of those things that we should all be able to offer, but it takes a hell of a lot of work to get there, doesn't it? Thanks for the research on him, too, bringing up his background, and that's what I've always appreciated about your show. Jim, you know, one of the things that I think you need to remind people, there's probably at least 1,000 people on the radio right now listening to you that have never come in contact. Remind them, like you reminded me back in '06, to pay attention to the show for a couple of weeks and to give you a chance, because otherwise it's impossible to get the jungle. You got to know what the drops mean. You got to know who the clones are. You got to know the jokes and the inside stories. And I'm grateful that I spent that time when I had it back in '06, like I said. But listen, I got loose on Twitter a couple of months back, and it was regretful. I said something about someone that I want to apologize for publicly. She knows who she is. I didn't mean anything by it, and I'm sorry. Hey, Jim, the jungle has given me an opportunity to meet up with a couple of damn good clones. That's SA Sports Talk, and can you believe Dr. Dave in Chicago? Met those guys at the Riverwalk a couple of weekends ago. Good people. There's a bunch of good clones in the jungle right now that I've got to know a little bit better. Mark in the 925, Clifford, Silly Blonde Girl, Bella B, more of those people. Hey, and Kirby, what's going on, brother? I'll catch up with you soon. Jim, thank you for the Vine. Like I said, War Wrestling, War Erections, War Me. I'm out.
Johnny, my man, did you war yourself after that call? Covered a lot of ground, didn't he? What he was talking about was, Johnny said, you know, I bet there's like maybe 1,000 people listening right now that need to hear this. Let me, point of clarification, let me help you with that. There's like 8 million people listening right now, John. But what he was talking about was back in the day, I used to say, as a disclaimer, the show is a very different show. You've never heard a show like this before. You've never heard a host like this before. You're not going to like it. I know you won't, inevitably. Very rare was the listener who, when I started, I'm talking about back in the 90s, and especially like in the very beginning, there was like a kind of a sense of, damn, you know, what is this? And then people, after they heard it for a time, and I got in a few years, knew what it was, but didn't like it at all. And I understood this. I knew the reaction was always really visceral and really like, man, I hate this guy. I hate this guy. And my reaction to that would be, all right, that's fine. I accept that. No matter what, some of you are going to hate me. I get that. That's what I signed up for. In fact, if you didn't hate me, I wouldn't be doing my job. And then I got beyond that point because I realized that no matter who you were, if you got behind a mic, people were going to hate you no matter what you said or what you did, no matter how polarizing, no matter how emphatic. I mean, you could have been the most vanilla person ever and never said anything and never had a single take. People would hate your guts. X would always hate. But my point was, some of you who think you hate are going to love my ass. Give it 2 weeks. It's a different show. You need to see how I do it. You need to see where I'm coming from. You need to see how I conduct my interviews. You need to kind of know my point of view. And then you have to understand the jungle itself and the people who call the show and the people who interact with the show. And then inevitably, a number of you would say, hey, Rome, you're right, man. I hated your guts. I wanted to fight you the first time I heard you, but after a couple of weeks, I kind of figured out where you were coming from. And I'm like, this guy's funny, this guy's smart, this guy's talented, this show is really good. And then somebody would say, hey, radio man, I listened for 2 weeks, and you know what? I hate you even more than I did when I started listening. I'd say, fair enough. I accept that. Or I would, if you were a little brighter, give it 2 more weeks. You're a little slow on the uptake. And if after 1 month you can tell me you still hate my guts, then I will own that. So that's what Johnny's talking about. And here's John 13 years later.